Okay, for me, it's very simple. Look, I don't believe in a MMA class where you're going to learn everything, right? I don't let a beginner person come into my MMA class, period. So it's not the place where I'm going to teach basics.
Welcome to It's Not About the Fight. I'm Ross Cameron, martial artist, coach, and lifelong student of combat sports. I've had the privilege of being able to work with some of the best in the industry, UFC champions, world-class jiu-jitsu competitors, and elite martial artists from all over the world. Now I'm bringing those lessons to you. Let's get to work. Today on the podcast, we're lucky to have Master Fari, one of Australia's most respected martial artists and instructors and business mentors. With decades of experience, Master Fari has not only built a thriving martial arts school, but has helped hundreds of martial arts owners globally develop their business. He's a multiple discipline black belt and an advocate for raising the standard in the industry. Welcome aboard, Master Fari.
Good morning from wonderful cold Sydney. I hope it's warmer up there for you.
It's a beautiful sunny day. Got the UFC on this afternoon. So
Great card. I'm looking forward to it, actually.
I can't wait to see Kaikara Francis fight. That's just, I've been waiting for him to get a good shot. So that's awesome.
It's now or never.
Yep. All right. So can you tell me how you got involved in martial arts and what drew you to it in the first place?
Okay. This is my 43rd year of teaching. And I'm really big on talking about teaching because these days you'll get guys that are 23 years old and they say, I've been in martial arts for 20 years. Sounds really impressive, but at 3, what did you know? When I started judo at 5, I don't even count it because I had no idea that it was even judo. We were pushing each other around as kids. And ironically, I ended up taking over that judo location as my very own first school. But I was always, I think probably like you, we're all in that Bruce Lee era. And it was massive, that influence of Bruce Lee and the Kung Fu series. You know, we're all looking for that little
David
master.
Carradine. Yep.
Yeah, so you could take the pebbles from my hand and, all that wisdom. So we were really big on that. And I was absolutely obsessed. But I ended up getting into the Korean martial arts. I actually fell in love with the Hapkido, the practicality of it. And it was really probably the closest thing that I could see to all the stuff that Bruce Lee was doing, because obviously he was a bit of an idol and it was very mixed. And to do that, I had to also do Taekwondo. So that's why I have black belts in Taekwondo. But Hapkido was always my passion. The fact of it's so diverse. And now the way I teach it and the way it's evolved is probably even more diverse.
Yeah, you and I both understand what Hapkido is, but lots of people don't even know what Hapkido is. I had a shock to my own system recently where somebody said to me that, the Japanese do jiu-jitsu. And I was like, jiu-jitsu is a Japanese word. How do you not understand that? So how would you explain Hapkido to somebody
Hapkido look, a lot of the jiu-jitsu guys these days, there's jiu-jitsu for competition and there's jiu-jitsu for self-defense. So I describe to those people Hapkido as old school jiu-jitsu. Someone grabs you by the throat, someone grabs you on the chest. So we throw, we sweep. The only difference is there's a lot more kicking, obviously because of the Taekwondo influence in South Korea. And that's pretty much it. And obviously the ground part, look, there are some ground techniques, but obviously not nowhere near the depth of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, and that's why I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, obviously I've been specializing on the ground. So, for me, I love the stand-up Jiu-Jitsu, the Hapkido.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what I teach as my self-defense program. That's how I train. I train a lot of security guards, for example. Anyone that needs to close that distance standing up, to me, you either need old school jiu-jitsu or you need Hapkido. That's just my view, but obviously that's my expertise.
Yeah.
And that's the angle I'm always going to come from.
Yeah. So I'd agree because like my background, I started in judo when I was 4, like you, mainly because it was the only martial art around in the area.
It was everywhere.
Yeah. And then I went on and I did multiple styles of karate and then Taekwondo and then Yun Jung Do and then on to Japanese Jiu-Jitsu and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA and all the rest of it. But still I rely on the Japanese Jiu-Jitsu locks and controls from standing up. even in the MMA stuff, it's still there. People just don't realize it.
Yeah, look, where we have evolved it is, to me, I'm obsessed with a clinch. So, did we have a name for it back in the day in our style? No, but obviously, with the BJJ and the MMA, the clinch has really come into play so much, because obviously we want to close the distance, and from the clinch, I'll go into all my locks. Be the Hapkido locks, be it on the BJJ stuff. For me, everything really starts on that clinch. Once we make contact, we nullify their ability to kick and punch us, and obviously to minimize the damage. And from there, obviously, if we have to, we take it to ground. But on a security level, I try and avoid the ground. Obviously, there's a different kind of strategy, horses for courses, as they say. One shoe doesn't fit all. And that's probably why we became multi-stylist, because there are gaps.
Yep. Yeah. And do you think cross training has affected the way, or changed your teaching philosophy? Do you blend things together a lot more than you used to? Do you?
Yeah, you can't help it. It's natural. If it feels good, you're gonna do it, right? If it tastes good, you're gonna eat it. So
Yep.
that's just the way it is. But like for example, our walking cane techniques, the traditional Korean techniques of walking cane, they'll have 1,000 techniques, but the first one is poke the left eye, poke the right eye, push on the foot. So they all count as one. So there's 1,000 of them. I don't want to do 1,000 of them. So for me, having a black belt in the Filipino martial arts, guess what? The way I do cane is definitely not Korean. I can tell you, it's Filipino, a knife defense. It's Filipino based. I can tell you now, whether I like it or not. It just sneaks in because it's better. It's in their expertise.
More efficient.
Absolutely. So it makes sense. And once you become that combative mindset, it's not a matter of mine. I'm going to defend it because this is mine. No, you know what? If that's better, guess what? I'm taking it. Hapkido is very broad anyway. It fits in within the parameters. It's going to work, and I'm taking it. Quite frankly,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to argue or even answer to anyone. I mean, look, I have an 8th degree in Hapkido, and it's not just Hapkido; it's Hapkido combatives. So I'm even using the word combatives, and have for a very long time, to differentiate myself from other Hapkido schools. And just as all jiu-jitsu schools aren't the same, Hapkido schools aren't the same, Taekwondo schools are the same. So it's not saying that mine is better, but it's better for me and for
And
what I need.
Yeah, it's got your focus on it.
Absolutely, based on my experience. So, and I get people say, look, I'm going to go and do this, and I'm going to go and do that. They're basing it on what, 4 years of experience? And mate, I've been teaching, not doing, teaching for 43 years. When you get your 43 years up, by all means, go and get creative. But I'm going to save you 43 years.
Yep.
So if you don't trust in my expertise and you come to me for my expertise, I can tell you the grass isn't greener on the other side.
Well, there's not much in this game that, there's not much in this game that you and I haven't seen over the years.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I get the same. I'm very much. Oh, how long have I been teaching? Since 1987, 88. Yeah, a long time. And you sit there and go, oh well, I might know what I'm talking about. But no, young guys.
Yeah, look, trust in you're investing in the experience, and at the end of the day, by investing in that experience, you're also, really trying to save yourself decades of, heartache.
Yeah, well,
and time, and that's where it's at. Really,
you and I both have done things through the martial arts things that someone comes along and shows you something, and you go, well, why did I bother doing all that work? That just closed that door that quick. Okay. All right. Now we understand.
Well, the biggest thing is that we act as teachers, as passionate teachers, we don't keep secrets. Back in the day, the mystique of the martial arts is there's a lot of things I don't tell my students. Mate, I tell you everything. The reason I tell you everything is because, one, that's my job. That's my duty of care. But I want to save you. You're now on the freeway. Really, I mean, we were going through the Amazon jungles back in the day, especially on the BJJ teaching. It was tough. There wasn't structure. There wasn't any of that. So now, I mean, like for example, a lot of people used to get upset with me that I put a couple of belts before the blue belt. I have some color belts and I have some stripes. Whether you do just stripes or belts, it's still the same process. I mean, you're still technically a white belt as such, but I chose to divide it to get to that blue belt because I want a bit more structure,
Yep.
and
And
obviously
more
that
stepping
worked for my system.
and the stepping stones that you recognize that are developing those skills to get to the blue belt. That's I get it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I like a bit more recognition, and that's really where the karate type system is worked. I mean, if it wasn't working, there wouldn't be BJJ blue belt, wouldn't be purple, it wouldn't be proud, it wouldn't be brown. You're just going to go from white to black, which they did back in the day. So they've also evolved, and I've evolved it on another level. And you know what? My school, I'm allowed to. I still stay within the parameters of obviously what is the standard. But before blue, to me, is whatever it takes to get the result, improve retention, improve the structure, and get the results. And if we can't get the results after 43 years of teaching, quite frankly, there's no hope for anyone.
So, how do you balance respect for traditional stuff with the innovation of where MMA and things like that are going in your curriculums, and how do you approach that area?
Okay, for me, it's very simple. Look, I don't believe in a MMA class where you're going to learn everything, right? I don't let a beginner person come into my MMA class, period. So it's not the place where I'm going to teach basics. You want to do MMA, you're going to have to go to a stand-up class, get some experience, and you certainly have to go to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class to get your essentials. I'm not going to teach you a hip escape in an MMA session. The MMA session at our school is designed to where you're going to put it all together. You're going to test the knowledge that you've gained in your class experience, and then you're going to test it when somebody's actually trying to punch you. And look, we're not going all out. It's not UFC, not yet anyway, but we don't want to beat the crap out of each other and get injured, but we do want to test it. Where am I getting stuck? And also too, yourself, it works all great in theory, but even a 3-minute round sounds easy, but when someone's punching you in their head and they're on top of you,
it's a long time.
it's
It's
a
a hell of a long
it's the
time.
longest 3 minutes of your life. So that combat conditioning, they need to get used to that, as well as trying to, work out what they're going to do. So for me, I think they need to specialize in classes and then test it, and then say, you know what, I was getting stuck on the corner of the cage. And there's always a pattern. For some reason, it's like your go-to to escape, and it might have been working in BJJ, but it just didn't work in the cage. And okay, I keep on going there, and I keep on getting stuck. All right, well, let's stop you going there, and let's stop you getting stuck.
Yep.
So then we try and come up with a couple of little drills. Then you go in and test it. At what point were you too late to try and get out of it? And obviously, prevention is better than the cure. So could we have stopped that a lot earlier? Your response could have been a lot better. So you didn't get the email, you didn't get the alarm, you didn't get the corner yelling at you, but you still went there. We need to look at all those things and why is the message, especially once you got the answer, why are you still not working it?
Yep. And habit is one of the problems you have with fighters. They have the same bad habits as well as good habits.
Absolutely.
And your opponent's going to watch your fights and see your habits and do all those things. So you've got to change your habits.
Well, especially at the end of the first round. I mean, isn't that the idea of the corner that, mate, you know what? Every time he goes for the big right, he's dropping the left. And your guy's not seeing that, but that's the idea of the corner. Look, he's really starting to gas. I want you to really put the pressure on him. He was struggling off his back, so make sure you put him on his back early, and you watch him. You're just going to crumble. You're going to break him. So that's the idea of the corner as well, and that's the idea of the experience. Well, look, as teachers, we see movement, we see gaps, and I've got to use Martin Nguyen as an example because everyone knows him for his great knockout punch, but I can tell you, he does not have a knockout punch. I mean, that's the reality of it. He has great timing, and all his knockouts, believe it or not, I mean, I've done videos on them to highlight the fact of we drilled them. And for me, you need to have an idea of what you're going with to the fight, and obviously some sort of strategy at the very least to keep you safe. All those knockouts were actually planned. They weren't like Oh my gosh, what a genius. And look, great timing, great athletic ability. But I'm gonna give myself a rap. It was also a great plan. Fact.
Yep.
Not
Yeah,
maybe, fact.
and it's that watching the tape, seeing the whole, having the plan, and doing the reps, getting the timing right. Because everyone thinks it's all about the power, but it's not about the power. It's about the timing of the strike.
No. Well, well, if he had the power when we weren't training together, where were all those other 10 knockouts that, in the same caliber of those that we did? I mean, where were they? They weren't there.
Yep.
I mean, he was looking for it, but also too, then opponents get to see your tapes and they're going, mate, look for that right. And you may as
Yeah.
well send him an email because, I mean, that's probably the advantage and disadvantage of professional fights because yes, you've probably got a little bit of history on them, but they've also got a bit of history on you.
Yeah, well, back in the day when when I was fighting, it was hard to get because it was tape.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was old film. It was hard to get that. Nowadays, everyone's got a camera in their pocket and they've got videos on YouTube everywhere and all the rest of it. So
Absolutely. Look,
even at
it's
the
so much
amateurs,
easier. It's so much easier. But again, that's why and you've cornered a lot of fights too. Our ability to see, and people say, how do you get that ability? By teaching. You're watching, your right leg should be a little bit more forward. You've got too much weight on the front, too much weight on the back. Your feet are too close together.
your heels are
You're
on the
dropping your
ground.
hands. Yeah, we're constantly correcting people. So we're seeing, where corrections are needed. I mean, people say, how did you get that so quickly? How did you judge that? Well, isn't that what a teacher does every single moment of the day? And that's what separates teaching from, I've been in martial arts for 20 years. Okay, you've been in, but you weren't teaching. You weren't looking for all those little things to make adjustments. We do it automatically. I mean, even in security, I can walk in a room and see all those 30 people, which shape, which size, which one's a little bit louder, which one's a bit quieter, where do you think the trouble's going to start? People say, how the hell did you know that was going to start?
Yep, you read the room. Yep.
Mate, we read the room in the class. I'm on one end of the room and I'll spot something at the other end. People say, how did you? And I got, 4 people teaching for me and they didn't spot that on the other side and they're right next to them. And I'm on the other side of the room and I walk over, guys, what? You're on the other side. How did you see that? We're always scanning. We're always looking. And that's part of that. People say, how do you develop situational awareness? Become an instructor.
Having the time to sit on the mat and watch and have that mat view and watch everything and see everything. Yeah. And I do it when I watch the sparring. I'm watching multiple things going on at the same time, and you can be talking to this guy, watching this guy, and telling this guy what he's got to fix.
Absolutely. And at the same time, thinking about what you're going to have for dinner with your missus that night.
So your academy is recognised as one of the most successful martial arts schools in Australia. What's been one of the biggest challenges that you faced early on, and how did you deal with it?
Look, I think early on, when you're pioneering, and this is the next generation, I think it got so much easier. Look, we were trying to copy our instructors. And the fact is, look, I love my instructor. I still keep in touch with him. You probably see him on Facebook. But the sad truth is he failed. He failed on the business side on multiple occasions. So he gave up teaching because he failed on the business side. I was his only student that actually, for example, we own our own premises, and I remember clearly, we'd go to the school and there's a sign on the door saying it's closed. A few days later, I get a message, go over here, new place. The old place, the rent wasn't paid. We was shut down. And all of a sudden, where we're going to go? Oh, we're now here. Whole new place, quick setup. And, there wasn't mats back in the day. I mean, we didn't even have bags. We used to have, we used to get cardboard boxes, just overlap them. And we used to them as our little kicking pads. People call them pork chops now or paddle sticks.
We used to use the phone books.
Look, whatever it took. And that was the pretty much, and we used to copy that too. And that's what we knew. So, we had to evolve from that. But I think the biggest change was really to get any result, you needed to make a commitment, and asking students for a commitment as a membership base not only helps the business, but it also helps the student. It's a win-win. And like when I bought my building and we opened in January 2000, if you wanted to train, you needed to become a member. And we do have some casual options, don't get me wrong. But if you want to get graded, if you want to fight, it's not going to be available to casual students.
Yeah, yep, yep. So having a membership base makes such an important difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And we then took that to another level. For example, I introduced fortnightly, bi-weekly. It's pretty much standard in Australia now, but I can tell you everyone was monthly. Why do we do monthly? Because everyone did monthly. So for me, I said, okay, let's do bi-weekly. It's a smaller amount, makes it more manageable, easier to manage. And universities in Western Australia did studies, and the actual retention was at its best in fortnightly payments. Yearly was the worst. And people that do weekly saying, oh, I'll take it to another level, I'll do weekly. But at weekly, you feel like you're paying constantly. Fortnightly or bi-weekly, as the Americans call it, is the most efficient. I've got to mention the Americans, because in America, 99.9% are still doing monthly. Once upon a time we're learning from them, but now they need to learn from us.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. My first trip to America was in about 1984 to fight in America, and I went there assuming that you had all the Benny the Jets and all these guys, the Chuck Norris and all them, and the standard, you expected the standard to be high, and it was, and then there was also a lot of the rubbish down the bottom. But same in the actual martial arts industry. The industry
Yeah.
had some really amazing schools and a whole heap of rubbish.
Well, I look, a lot of famous fighters and martial artists, and there were some people that had some great financial success. But I can tell you, your average fighter in America, they've gone bankrupt not once, twice, maybe half a dozen times. So, great to learn from martial arts. But, look, the business of martial arts is really a whole nother level of learning. And we have, for example, the largest single location martial arts school in the world here in Sydney. It's not in America. It's in Sydney, the highest turnover of anyone in the world. And I challenge anyone to argue with that. And somebody could say, I know such and such. Well, I don't. And I've traveled the world, and I can tell you the largest is in Sydney, and it's a Taekwondo school. So, and I get, especially the MMA guys, the Jiu-Jitsu guys, love bagging some traditional style. I don't bag anyone.
No, they all have their pluses, and everyone has their minuses, but
Yeah.
they've all got their pluses.
Yeah. Well, look, what is the minus? The minus, they'll say, oh, they produce a lot of black belts. Well, and they give it away. Well, my answer to that is, when somebody joins, it's like going to university. Do you want to graduate, or do you go to university to fail? This thing where, I have only 1 in 1,000 students gets black belt. Well, with respect, maybe your system's not that good.
Yeah, and maybe I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and he was saying that that's what he actually thinks, that he was too hard on his own students, and it's
Absolutely.
cost him students over the time. He said, my students have all got great skills, but it's cost me students because at the end of the day they've gone off somewhere else, and suddenly they've been graded black belts, first dance, second dance, and third dance.
Yeah, because you're
Because they
training.
had good skills.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
looked at them as stars. They go, wow. And they'll get promoted there, but you didn't promote them. And, for me, look, it's all about results. And, we use the term Black Belt Success School. And, I want people to get a result. If you train 4 years at my school as a Hapkido guy, twice a week, if you're consistent, I'll get you to black belt. Not maybe, I will get you to black. And you'll be a very competent. You may not be an all-star, but let's face it, people finish university, they're not all A+ students. They could be a B+, right? So, there's a pass level. And yourself, when people get black, I think they become a much better martial artist. The whole idea of the test is done, the pressure is done. They're going to look at it with a different set of eyes, and
Yeah,
they become so much better.
that's such a big shift. Once people have got that black belt out of the way, they're seeing things with different mindsets, different understandings, different levels of depth on the subjects. It changes the way they actually become.
Absolutely. And it's obviously given them a big sense of confidence. And let's face it, we've all got belts, especially on the BJJ. Every belt I've ever received in BJJ, I thought, oh, look, I'm not ready. And you're never ready, but you're going to step up as well. That extra pressure.
Yeah, and sometimes I had a conversation with someone the other week. We did a grading, and I said to the master that this person will grow into that rank quite well. Physically, he's there. Mentally, he's there. He could tweak some things, but he will grow into that rank very well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
It does. But I think it's a very good goal. And look, it takes longer, obviously, in the BJJ part for a whole lot of reasons. But even that, look, it took me 20 years to get my black. These days, I think really an average is probably 8 years now. And there's in some places even shorter, probably a bit too short in my view. But that's my view. But it's evolving. People got to back that belt.
That's what most people don't understand too, is that martial arts is an ever evolving system.
Yeah.
So in the old days, it might have taken you longer to get there. One, because there wasn't very many black belts to learn from or grade or do any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Two, the technology has got better. How you can receive your information and all that.
Oh, absolutely. The resources, the support. But even now, if you open a school, people are going to laugh at you if you're not a black belt teaching. Mate, I was a white belt teaching PJJ in my school. Try doing that now. I mean,
yeah.
No
I was
way
the
in the
same.
world.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. Like Vince Perry graded me to blue belt, and he looked at me down the line because we were all there handing out ranks, and he looked at me and went, "You've got a white belt on, Ross." And I went, "Yes, I haven't graded in BJJ." He said, "Oh, we have to better fix that." So, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's been a long road, and now it's so much easier. But look, it's tougher if you want to open a school as a BJJ guy, and BJJ is everywhere as well. But again, that's a learning curve for them, how to structure that. And you've probably seen, especially on the BJJ side, a lot of schools open, but not as many stay open. So
Yeah.
they're still evolving, and good luck to that. I'm happy to be a multi-style school that can bag my so-called traditional stuff, which I don't think is traditional, but they'll class it as that. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I have a chuckle because again, I'm a multiple style school. Like people try and bag out a lot of the traditional stuff. And I go, well, where do you think you learned that from? Where do you think that came from?
Yes.
The latest move. Oh, well, that's been around since 1903 in judo. Here's a video of it. Oh. So, yeah, there's nothing new in the game. It's just branded differently, or someone's got a twist on it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I'm never going to put anyone else
so what
down
advice would you give to someone who's
make me sound better,
looking to open a new martial arts school?
to make me sound, to look better. I never bag anyone. I don't bag their titles. Am I back on?
Yep. Yeah.
I don't bag anyone. I see some Facebook posts, they call themselves master, grandmaster. Well, I'm also called professor as well. I mean, it's a title. Don't get carried away. I'm not there to bag anyone. What all of a sudden you're right, everyone else is wrong. It's a title. Settle down. And if my students join me and they didn't choose you, you might be the way better fighter. You may even be a much better practitioner, but they joined me. You should ask yourself why they joined me and didn't join you. If you're the better guy, why didn't they come to you? Mate, don't bag me. Take a look at yourself, because they're not joining you. They've placed their trust in me. So don't bag me. I'm winning.
Yep. Yeah. And titles only relate really to each individual martial art, and each individual martial art has its own levels and has its own requirements and its own respect paid for certain things. And so, move tight.
Absolutely. And we're all going to have weaknesses, regardless of any style. Look, we're multi-style because I think there are weaknesses. They're just the fact. I won't say weaknesses. There's a gap.
Yeah.
So if you want to fight, you want to try and close as many of those gaps as possible. So
yeah, well, if you just do boxing, you're not going to have any kicks. If you just do taekwondo, you're probably not going to have great hands. If you just do judo, you're going to have great throws, but you're probably not going to have any striking. So you fill the holes with other things.
Absolutely. Well, the common denominator in all those things is that we all breathe. So, for me, I love a good choke. So no air, no way out.
So what advice would you give to someone who wants to open their own martial arts school for the first time?
Okay. In fact, I just sent an email out just recently to someone, even on the leasing part, he was a bit nervous and didn't know the process. So for me, I always say to people, start small. I cannot tell you the number of people that all of a sudden I want to lease a place as big as, Master Fari's. Well, mate, I was in halls before then. I was, renting. And start off casual. You got a casual commitment, but also too, you got a casual side effect if it fails financially. I'd rather learn spending less money than trying to spend big upfront and have the pressure of trying to fill it. And the fact is, yourself, you could have a full-time place and not be there. You're paying for 7 days a week and you're not there 7 days a week. I mean, that's the fact. So how are you going to fill it? What's your plan? So for me, it's start off casual and learn from that. And if you can't make it casually, well, quite frankly, you're not going to make it full time. I can tell you now.
Well, I started in the garage at home, and then out to school halls, and then from school halls, I got my first small little dojo, which was like 100 square meters, and then that got too small, and then So I agree. You start small, build, get your base, get your followers,
Yeah.
and then grow. But
Yeah. So get yourself a mentor and let's face it, we didn't have anyone. Look, my teacher could not teach me on that part of it because he failed sadly, not just failed miserably to the point where he retired, stopped. I don't want to do this anymore. So burnt himself out because he couldn't pay the bills, couldn't support his family. So how not only to overcome that, but also as a lifestyle. And yourself, when people are having dinner in the evening, what are we doing? Every single day.
yeah,
Mate, we're not at the dinner table. So, can your partner handle it? I mean, our industry is rife of, I've got friends that have been married 4 times and say, well, mate, you're just married for the 4th time and you're 60 years old. Did your other 3 wives, didn't you learn from them that might your martial arts lifestyle may not fit?
yeah, and it's different because people don't understand that's such a drain, not only on your partner but also on your children and all the rest of it. Because are you there all the time for them? Is it when you
Absolutely.
need there to be there? Are you there to run them around to the sports and to the dance concerts and all the rest of it? Yeah.
Well, how many times have we said no to our families and kids, and we've gone to spend more time for someone to prepare a fight, go to their fight, and we said no to our kids, and these people aren't even our children. And then 6 months later, they're not even with you. Going, hang on, I just left all this time out for my children, and I'm trying to help them in additional time. It's not like you're getting paid anyway. And I mean, I've made people a hell of a lot of money. I can tell you, I've never been paid a single cent. So, people can't say to me, oh, but you got paid. Paid what?
Yeah, everyone thinks that because you're cornering guys at the top end and all the rest of that sort of stuff, that you're getting paid thousands of dollars. I've never been paid to corner anyone. Not one person has paid me.
You and I are in the same boat. But
Yep.
mind you, I would do things differently in hindsight. But look, I can't complain financially. Look, I've been, I think, pretty blessed. But look, there is a lot of sacrifice, and we would do things differently now. But again, that's part of the learning curve. I don't live in the past. I just say thank you. I'm 60 years old. I don't have joint pain. I have all my teeth. I can prove it. You know what? I can walk. I can sleep. I'm in a lot better condition that some people I've got, mate. They got double hip replacements. 2 knees replaced and missing half their
Absolutely.
teeth and sore back and joint pain.
Yep. And because we've taken such a lifestyle look at it, that's what keeps me turning up. One, I enjoy sharing my knowledge with people, so I'm quite happy to share my knowledge. Two, it's a healthy lifestyle if you're got the balance right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's part of the importance of finding a good mentor, because it's not just learning about the business stuff. It's really learning about the martial arts as a package, as a lifestyle, and how that affects you. I mean, let's face it, we can give that advice from a relationship point of view. What are you doing in the mornings? What are you doing in the, before, how to package it. So then they go in a lot more prepared of the repercussions of making certain decisions and how to address that. And I think that's, for me, that's a big part of when I talk to people. Like I'm now going to be getting back heavily into it. I've just become the president of the Martial Arts Industry Association, and I'll be taking over from the late Walt Missingham, which everyone would know. Before his passing, gave me a call. So, and we've had a very good relationship, and that was a tough call to make. But knowing that he was going to pass, he let me know what he hoped, and so I'm going to be going into that role, keep his legacy going, but also to then become a bit more active again in the industry.
Mentoring and keeping the industry going.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Your approach to leadership, has it evolved over the years? Do you have in mind your own direction you want to take leadership, or have you just learnt more from your mentors about leadership, or how have you
Look,
developed that?
yeah, look, I think everyone develops their own little style, but for me, it's look, I don't think we should be lecturers, right? Look, if it's a seminar type, that's different. But with my team, look, and there are schools that'll do, 2-hour meetings. I'd rather do 2 hours on the mats and, on the job training. You see something that could be improved and corrected. Well, it's fresh. Guys, let's do it this way. Why didn't we spot that? It's fresh. Whereas if you're sitting in a room and you're saying, look, I saw this, and you're not, well, okay, they don't remember it to begin with. They may not remember it. While you're doing it, I think it's the best way. And, my meetings, I'm probably that 5-minute manager. I don't want to be there for 2 hours, mate.
Yep.
My
Yeah.
ADHD probably kicks in, mate. So
Yeah, and you start pointing the finger at people, and they're going, "Oh," and that's never good. Whereas
yeah,
if you see it and you can fix it on the spot, it's more about
absolutely.
the growth management rather than anything else.
Yeah. Look, our business is on the floor. Our lifestyle is on the floor. Our students are on the floor. Why do you want to move it anywhere else? I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. And look, other people disagree, but that's just me. I'm just everything. Well, if I'm training security guards, and I'm trying to mentor them, I'm telling you, I'm going to be walking around with them, and they can see what I see in everything. I have the same style, very hands-on. And when people know, look, the old quote, no one cares how much you know. They want to know how much you care. So you can have all that knowledge, but if you make it about, you're pointing the finger and you need to do this, you need to do this, well, if they don't feel like you care about their progression, their mental health, their physical health, their training, they need to know that you care, where you're coming from. And that's not going to come in a meeting.
No, and the why are you doing this has become so important. Not because I just want to put more dollars in my pocket. I want to help you get better at what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And if you do that well, there will be a good side effect. And yes, you'll be financially better off. But it's the people and the training first. And the side effect of that is you benefit financially. But unfortunately, these days, mate, they're putting the dollar up front first, and they're just going for the jugular. And that's fine. But people are going to see it. And I just think that'll hinder your growth, and it'll limit your success. But that's just me.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah, each of their own.
What are some of the common mistakes you see in martial arts business marketing?
They tend to make it about them, and people say, "Oh, but Fari, you're always doing videos about you." I'm sharing my lifestyle, but I'm not sharing business tips online. I'm sharing my lifestyle. Like I'll do videos on my dad, for example. So don't make it about you. It's all about the students. And where is your focus? Do you need more adults? Do you need more kids? Do you want more families? You want to be a fight school? Whatever that is, share their experiences so people can relate. And also too, are your students within your school, your number one way of getting students should always be referral. And let's face it, they want to bring a friend, someone nearby, they want to train with someone more comfortable. If they're not referring, you need to ask why.
Yep. Yeah. Uh, my m- and my biggest marketing tool is my referrals. And I think I set out not to try and push my people to refer people. I try to support my people
Of
to
course.
make it as fun as possible and as enjoyable as possible, so that they will naturally bring their people.
Look, we like that student. Obviously,
Yep.
that person is a good fit. So we want more people like them that are good fit.
Yep.
I don't know those people. They know those people that are like them. Like people tend to group together and hang around together. So you know what? I love your nature. I love the way you approach your training. If you've got people that have the same mindset, please bring them along. We'll be sure to look after them. And at the end of the day, they're probably going to do them a favor because, look, there's people out there pushing drugs, pushing alcohol. Let's have a smoke together. Mate, I'm pushing training. Let's go and train together, mate.
Yeah.
Martial arts for life. So it's not a bad thing.
Where else can you go have fun, exercise, learn a skill? There's not many sports that all put it all together.
No, well, if you follow me on any of my social media, you're gonna meet Super Mario, who just turned 80.
Yes, I saw Super Mario just turned 80.
And I mean, really, honestly, I'm going to get emotional just talking about him. People go, "Why do you get emotional about it?" Well, he used to work in a aged care facility before he retired, and he actually said the reason he joined martial arts is because he does not want to die. That was exact words, and pretty powerful words. You go, "Oh my God!" So when you talk about martial arts for life, and this is a guy that started at, we're talking at 59.
Yep.
And
That's
has
my
got
age
black
now.
belt.
Yep.
Yes, correct. So, mate, and people are like, 30 years old. Am I too old for this? Well, and he's training and he's active. And look, is he going to go to the UFC? No. And I don't let anyone throw him around. He says, "Oh, look, I can take it," but I've got to protect him from himself. So,
Yeah, we still have that teenager in our head that says, "Yeah, I can do that."
absolutely. Yeah. But I always got to hold him back a little bit. But look, he's pretty fit. Does his push-ups, does his crunches. His weight is good. And the only thing I had to do for him, I have something in my school in case he has a heart attack, and which I recommend every school should have anyway. But a defibrillator is a must, and it'll make it easier. Look, it's a bit of an investment, but he inspired me to get that because, look, he's my oldest student. My biggest fear, and I got to say, and one of my good friends overseas had a student pass away during a black belt test, had a heart attack, and mate, not only during a class but during a test again. And then obviously they had a heart issue that they didn't know, but having the defib, having it there handy, I think is part of our duty of care. And it's always on my mind.
Yeah, and all the instructors having first aid training and the skills to do CPR and all the rest of it. It's a must.
Look, absolutely, absolutely. And the DFIB takes it to another level because obviously it's going to make life a lot easier for those applying the first aid. Again, I think that's part of being a professional school or a professional instructor. And you could be in a part-time school, you still need to have that professional approach. And that's why the Martial Arts Industry Association, for example, number one is you need to have your first aid. Number two is they want you accredited as a level 1 coach, which is not a bad thing. And number three is they want you to have insurance. And look, and the sad thing is, people can open up a school with no checks, no whatsoever, and really, and he could have made up his own qualification, but it's not against the law to open a martial arts school. I mean, no professional organization will let you join them as a member, but no one can stop you opening a martial arts school.
Yep, exactly. And as a professional martial arts instructor who have seen people do that sort of thing over many years,
100%. Yeah.
you go, I've invested in my own coaching qualifications, in my own first aid and in-depth understanding of what I actually do and my business understanding and all those sort of things and my business systems. And you can have somebody start up down the road who just goes, "Here, I've got a piece of paper that says," and you go, "Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. I've registered the business name. I'm legal.
yep,
Yeah. Yeah. Reality.
yep." So how do you see technology and social media affecting the industry and online learning is a good thing or a bad thing?
Look, I think it's a great thing. For example, for my Hapkido and my BJJ, we have an online teaching system on our Facebook private groups as learning tools where each stripe, each belt as a module. And look, they're not going to learn from it. It's not meant to because they need to go to class. But as a backup tool, they've got something to refer to. And the reason I went the Facebook way and not the website, because everyone uses Facebook, for example. So for me, it just makes it easy. It's accessible. I can manage it in the palm of my hand. My office, I don't even have an office, by the way. My office is my phone. I've simplified it. And welcome to the future. Like it, don't like it. It's here. And I need to make it the most of it.
Well, I think it's a fantastic tool if used the correct way. And I get guys that come in and I say, "Oh, look, I've learnt this new technique off YouTube or rah, rah, rah."
And I don't mind. Nothing wrong with that. Let's play with it. Let's test it out. That's fine.
That's exactly what I say. And then I'll go, or I'll look at it and I go, I don't want to use that because, and I'll have a reason why, like buggy chokes. I'm not a big fan of buggy chokes. And then I had a young fella do his knee himself, doing a buggy choke on somebody else. And I said, well, that's the reason I don't actually like to do them, because I can see the...
Well, that's probably the reason why you don't have it in your curriculum.
Yeah.
So if you want them to look at something curriculum-based, well, then put it online. If you don't have a curriculum, they're going to be searching everything and anything, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, you want to give them that tool to look at your curriculum. And this is our minimum requirements. This is our reference points. This is how you get your stripe. This is how you get your belt. This is how you get your progression. It's clear. There's a clear path.
Yep.
And research by all means. But this is your minimum.
I think that's very, very much a key, is to have a clear path, because people buy into, if I do this, I get this. If I do this, I get this. If I do this, I get this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, know where you are, know where you've been, have an idea of where you're going. And otherwise, look, isn't that part of the motivation? So, all goals need to be realistic. They need to be achievable, and there needs to be a time frame. If I said to people, look, it's going to take 20 years to get your black belt in BJJ, I don't think that's acceptable these days. I did it in 20 years.
Yeah, the average person out there is going to go, are you kidding me? Yeah, I can't even remember when I started BJJ, but like, must be nearly 20 years ago now, and I'm still not a black belt. I should get my black belt sometime in the next couple of years, but
yeah. Well, you've got a very good coach. I'm a fan, so you've introduced me. We've done a couple of seminars, and mate, there's a wealth of knowledge there. Wow,
yeah, and that's part of the reason that I'm actually under Robert, was purely the fact that, one, it got me away from a lot of the political scene locally. Two, when I get my black belt, it'll be from a world champion expert that everybody respects.
Yeah,
that's it. And the same with all my belts. All my belts, I've got from world experts or Olympic judo coaches or...
Absolutely. Who did you get it from? Yep, absolutely. And that's part of the research that students need to be doing, because like I said, people can open up a school and it's like they're not linked to anyone, who they trained, what, and that could be a YouTube instructor, mate. That's part of or there'll be guys that got one bill from this person, another bill from this person. They've had like 10 coaches, and they go, okay, so all 10 coaches were crap, and now you're good enough to open up your own school. Mate, there's a bit of a pattern there.
Yep, absolutely. And I've had guys that left me to go somewhere else to get their blue belts, and then complained that I didn't give them their blue belt fast enough. And I'm like going, all right, where did you get the skills to get your blue belt in 2 months at that other gym?
Yeah, and why did you get it so fast? Obviously, they're going, this person's good.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay. So maybe you just left at the wrong time and weren't patient enough.
Yeah. Look, yeah. But you know what? That's probably a reason why we should also communicate. Let them know I've got, this is the goal, this is the time, and probably look. And we've all made mistakes. We get busy, but I think we probably need to, step up our communication, because especially on the BJJ, mate, there's schools popping up everywhere. It's like, mate, There's as many
Oh,
BJJ schools as there's coffee shops, and there's a lot of
I,
coffee shops around.
I was gonna say it's a bit like the '80s with the Cobra Kai's in America, and
Yeah.
the '70s it was kung fu schools opening up everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. 70s was kung fu. His was I thought was ninjutsu with a lot of the ninja movies.
Yep.
And obviously the BJJ is, I still think, taken over. I don't think MMA is as big. Like even in my school, I don't charge for MMA. If you do BJJ and you do our stand-up classes, you qualify for the MMA, but you can't go straight in. And it's a bonus class.
I
It's a
think
privilege, not a
that's
right.
a really interesting concept because lots of people just want to do MMA, but they don't have all the skill bases to start with. And people don't understand that it is multifaceted. You've got your striking, you've got your grappling, you've got your ground game, and you've got the links in between each of those. There's a lot in MMA. It's not
Well,
an
you
easy
try
thing
to put
to.
all that in one class, and then you want to look after experienced people and look after an absolute beginner, mate. You know what? I'm not teaching you basics in MMA, mate. Just don't waste my time, mate. To do your time over here, prove yourself, and if you cannot prove yourself, well, you don't deserve to be there. Period. Anyway.
Yep. Like it. So, what's been the most rewarding moment of your martial arts career so far?
For me, seeing, look, we're generational now. Obviously, look, I'm 60 years old. I'll have people that have brought their sons in, who in turn are bringing their kids in, 3 generations. That to me is saying a lot. They want their kids to do it because it's obviously been a good positive influence on them. And that to me is probably the most inspiring thing because, look, let's face it, what a way to say thank you. Someone brings you their child is such a big level of trust.
Yeah, I have students of mine back in New Zealand that because I'm not there, they've still taken their kids to a martial arts school that I've recommended to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's sir, you're not here. Who do we go to? And you say, go to this guy. And they go, okay, we're going to go to that guy because you told us to. That's this. Yeah, it's such a big thing to feel that.
Look, for me, that's massive. And if they can get involved and also help me share in that lifestyle, I wouldn't advise them to be there 7 days a week. But if they're also sharing that experience now, also help, like Super Mario, he'll help in the kids. They've got an 80-year-old man in the kids' class and he's helping. They're going, wow.
Yeah, and what a role model. What a role model.
Absolutely. You know what? I always say to the parents on the side, I go, you know what? He's there. Hey, I wonder if you can do as many push-ups as him. He's 80.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, well, my master Yun, he's 84, trains every day, and people in his apartment unit come out and say, "Oh, how old are you? You look so young." And he goes, "I'm 84," and they go, oh, "I'm only 70." He goes, "Well, come train." Yeah, but they don't.
Look, some training is better than no training. And that's why even these guys, when I see them in the park, they'll be doing their Tai Chi. People say, oh, you know what? They're not going to fight. I go, well, they're not training to fight. They're just training for life. So
Yeah,
it's still movement. So that's why I never bag anyone. Horses for courses. And if I've got an 80-year-old doing training with me, great. If they're doing Tai Chi, great. They're doing something. You know what? I'm happy for you. It's whatever fits. I mean, Mario loves the action stuff. So, so we got from 4 years old to 80. That's a big age bracket. So I'm 60. I fit in between. So there's still some time for me.
so if you could give your younger selves any piece of advice, what would it be?
I probably don't be as obsessed. For example, my son pretty much runs the school now, which for the first time in my life, I can turn up a little bit later. I don't have to close. I don't have the responsibility of all the workings, and that's freed me up quite a bit. So for me is that I also want him to have certain days off to be able to clock on and clock off. You call him on a Sunday, better be important because that's his time. Whereas back in the day, you and I, mate, you call me in the middle of the night and I'll answer, what's up? You okay? What are you doing?
Yep.
And well, look, we can't be 24/7. That level of sacrifice, I think, is not needed. And I think there needs to be some guidelines so you can also have a life. And I don't want my son to get burnt out. I don't want anyone to get burnt out. And let's face it, different times we've all been, oh my God, we're going like fight shows on a Friday, fight shows on a Saturday. We've got an event on Sunday. I'm teaching all week. And there's your 7 days. And those 7 days, let's face it, when's there time for you? You've done it for everyone else. And it's not like you're getting paid any extra.
Yeah, I tell
That's
people
gone.
I feel that I'm quite lucky because I get up every day and I do Ross shit.
Yeah.
I do what I want to do, which is teach martial arts and all the rest of it, which is important. But you still don't. People don't realize that you still need downtime and time to do other things to have a well balanced lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we want to teach. And that's what I want my son to have. I want him there. If my legacy is going to continue, he needs to be on a lot more solid platform. I mean, he's got a great foundation because I built it, but, I want him to learn from all the negatives, all the mistakes that I've made. And let's face it, we want the best for our students. I certainly want the best for my son, and learn from my mistakes. And hopefully he'll keep all his teeth and all his hair and not walk around in pain. And that's the other thing too. The biggest thing, honestly, I always tell the young guys they want to smash each other. I'm really big on head protocols at the moment. I've met a couple of footballers that I absolutely idolize, halfbacks, not forwards, but halfbacks. Mate, they can barely talk to you. They can barely walk. They're barely functioning.
Is a huge issue in any sort of contact sport.
Yeah.
Especially rugby and rugby league.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, and even down, like I'm very, very particular about the way my guys spar.
Absolutely.
I want them sparring in a playful way where if I tag you in the head, it's not hard enough to do you any damage.
Absolutely.
Because we're not fighting.
Yeah.
So when we're fighting, okay, we can ramp it up. But those harder sparring sessions are few and far between.
Absolutely. And how often have you heard, but if we were going harder, it'd be different. He tagged you, you were going soft. If he hit you harder, it would have hurt more. He still tagged you.
Yeah, I use the analogy, they're playing cowboys and Indians. Bang, bang, you're dead. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. Bang, bang, you got tagged. That's enough.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've been to fight shows where the guys will say, "Mate, I love getting punched in the head." You're an idiot.
Yeah. You won't love it for long anyhow.
100%.
So where can listeners connect with you online and learn more about what sort of this industry support and things that you do?
All right. Well, you've got a couple of things. There's Martial Arts Professionals. We'll also have its Facebook. Excuse me. It's very cold in Sydney. I should move to Queensland.
Yeah, it's cold for Queenslanders here at the moment. Not that cold. It's like 20 degrees or something.
Oh, gee, you're rubbing it in now. But anyway, you've got Martial Arts Professionals. Look, start with Fari Salievski. You'll see, and make sure you pick the right one, because people open up Facebook pages left, right, and center in different images. So if they don't have the number of followers, it's definitely not me. My Instagram has a very large following. So, that's a start. Message me. Then you've got the groups. You've got different pages with Martial Arts Professionals, which is the business part. Then you got the industry now, the Martial Arts Industry Association, which I'll be getting more and more involved with, and different groups, and trying to expand it, bring it into the 21st century.
Yeah, like it.
So that's gonna be a little bit of work again. Rather than just me in the past working with the association, I'll now be running it. So in 2006, up in Queensland, for example, I spent $100,000 doing the Martial Arts Industry Super Show. I don't think anyone's ever invested $100,000 on an event to grow the industry. I know what I was thinking at the time. It seemed like a good idea, but I spent $100K. And so, I put my money where my mouth is, and that was in 2006. So we're now 2025. So, for me, I certainly don't want to spend $100,000, but, we can do that much better through an association, and trying to raise the standards, but also raise the success levels, because if they succeed, the quality of teaching improves.
Yeah, and growing the pie gets bigger, the industry gets bigger, and it's such a good. Yeah.
Well, it's gonna protect also, at the end of the day, the consumer. Otherwise, they're going to join a guy that just registered a business name, and sometimes they don't even do that, and they're teaching. So you know what? How do you combat that? Well, you got to be in the front line to offer your services.
Yeah, well, you used to have on the VTech scope was the sports coaching specialising in martial arts, and it's been removed because I helped Chris Hazeman write the course for the one he was running, but it's been removed because there wasn't enough people doing it. You just go, that should be a base requirement for our people.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Well, our level one is you can do it online from anywhere. We used to run it where we'd come to Brisbane, we'd go to Sydney. Well, now you can do it from anywhere in Australia online. You can do your accreditation, which is look, move forward with the times. And
well, I think
it's
it's a
in depth.
fantastic.
So,
I think it's a fantastic ability now to be able to do those sort of courses online because you can do it anywhere, anytime. You can't tell me you can't fit it in because 24 hours in a day, and I use a fair whack of those 24 hours.
well, welcome to the future. Step it up, get accredited, and then you can brag about the accreditation rather than brag about how great your kick is.
Yeah.
And you can try and be endorsed by a professional organization.
Yep. Well, thanks for your time, Fari.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to It's Not About the Fight. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and keep up the hard work on and off the mat. Stay tuned for my next chat with another top coach or athlete.